And here's Kristine Bradof to talk about her favorite shrub, Ninebark.
Yeah, it's hard to play favorites when it comes to plants because they all have their places, the native plants here. But I think I am known for ninebark, am I not, among the wild ones, Keweenaw folks? Um,
Yep.
they- I have them in my yard, and they pop up all over the place, and I pot them, and we sell them and give them away. So they're really one of the most versatile shrubs that I've come across. And I haven't been that familiar with them. Got mine originally from the conservation district, probably close to 20 years ago. And it's been quite impressive. It's a mouthful when you look at its Latin name, Physocarpus opulifolius. Physocarpus just means bladder fruit, and here you can see the seed capsules. They're kind of papery and they persist really into winter. The snow finally knocks them down, but that's where that name comes from. Opulifolius just means kind of maple-like leaves, and I actually have my nine barks next to, unfortunately, the European cranberry viburnum, which I also got from the conservation district. But it turns out it is the European one. It wasn't supposed to be. So that's where that name comes from. There's not any really verified source for the common name of ninebark. Obviously, there's not 9 layers of bark. I don't think any bark has 9 layers, but there are lots of peeling layers that you see this time of year, especially when the leaves are gone. But it's also true, and I know Michelle Wietek Stevens on her UP Native Plants website mentions that they curl into nines. I think that's where I saw that, and it's like, well, yeah, they do. Some of them actually do nines and sixes, so it works. But I'm thinking, well, why name it after some other plant that has similar leaves? Why didn't they call it Physocarpus versatilis? Because it is so versatile. And as a landscape shrub, this is the first one. Actually, I planted several of them next to my garage. When I bought my property in 1998, it was all lawn everywhere. There was nothing else except a couple of specimen trees in the front. So I planted these, and I didn't realize how big they were going to be. They can get up to about 10 feet high and as wide. So that one, it's backed up to a white pine, but it's free to grow. It's facing northeast, but it gets quite a bit of sun over my garage from the south as well for most of the day. But my quote there at the top from UP Native Plants, these things grow just about anywhere. They are really very, very tolerant of different conditions. My yard is wet in the spring and sometimes in the summer. If we get a lot of rain, that area floods. There's also tamarack behind it, so it's quite happy where it is there. And you can, if they get too big, you can prune them severely. You can cut them down to the ground and they will come back. In fact, that happened in 2020 when I had my driveway replaced. They had to cut away at the bottom so that they could put in the pavers. And it came right back. It looks the same as it always did. You can see the number of blooms on there. There are these arching branches. They're full of blooms. And they start in June and they go into July. And they really have four-season interest. Spring, you've got the flowers, and it's a pretty long bloom season with all those flowers on the plant. Then in the summer, they get the seed capsules, which start out pinkish, and by fall, they turn kind of a coppery brown. The leaves turn yellow, and I realized I could not find a good fall photo of this straight species. There are a lot of them that are grown as cultivars, and they will have, brilliant fall color like reds and purples but you can see a little bit of the yellow there. And then the seed capsules are brown. And this photo I just took today, this is what the peeling bark looks like in the winter.
Girl, Daddy will give you a treat. Oops.
Okay, we got that taken care of. We all have animals wandering around. So in addition to being a useful landscape plant for us, it's also ecologically very valuable. 36 butterfly and moth species up here for them. And it has a wide distribution too. I didn't put the map, but quite a bit of the eastern US, Physocarpus is native. And it's not just the butterflies and moths. The nectar and the flowers attracts bees, wasps, and flies. I see a lot of birds in the trees, in the shrubs. They're also good for planting on slopes. In fact, I've planted a bunch of them on the slope behind the Nera Chalet in the hope that that will become a more naturalized area. And it reproduces readily from seeds, which can be good or bad. I mean, they do pop up all over the place, but they're really easy to pull out, and you can dig them up and put them in places where you want them or sell them for wild ones. The only real downsides that I can see are that they need to be in a large enough space. I mean, you really should, like any other plant, put it where it's going to be able to do its thing. So if you have a lot of room, that's helpful. It can make a really good hedge or like a privacy barrier. The problem is that there are so many cultivars that are very pretty. Some of them mainly are focused on the change in fall color, which, as we understand it, doesn't affect the usefulness as a host plant for butterflies and moths as much as the ones like Diabolo and Dart's Gold and Amber Jubilee. All of those have different colors. You can see there the Diabolo is kind of purplish, and Dart's Gold and Golden Glow, they have different colors, and we know that can affect the ability of the moths and butterflies to see the plants. I think some of them have slightly different colors in the flowers too, but they're mostly white. So that's pretty much it. I've had this winter, I've seen branches that the plow has broken off. And I know I kind of follow the plow line where the snow is piled up in my yard on the lawn in the spring, and that's when I dig them up and pot them and move them to other places or have them for wild ones to sell. So, questions?
Allison here. I got a question.
Yeah.
So, you got maybe some new seedlings to offer for sale this spring, you're saying?
Oh yeah. And I also did some winter sowing. I have a container out there, one of the cat litter containers that I've been using for winter sowing. So we'll see how they do there too.
You mean you took seeds and tried to propagate them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And the seeds are tiny. They're almost like poppy seeds. They are the shiniest little seeds that I've seen. And when you're trying to pick them up with your fingernails, they tend to go shooting all over the place.
I did plant one in a side yard, and it gave me great confidence in my care of plants because it just took off. And I thought, oh my God, did I do that?
Yeah.
So
they're great starter plants.
Yeah, I'm thinking the labyrinth. So stay in touch if you have some you want to sell. Things need to happen down at the labyrinth.
Yeah,
which is that place down by the bridge.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I know
they grow fast too, which is
that's what I mean. I felt very happy that the plant apparently was happy with me. So you say avoid that there are many cultivars, and that's you don't want a cultivar, right?
Right. Yeah. And then see
How do you
the
know
cultivars,
Yeah.
when
How do you know if something is a cultivar? And that's
You-
probably a big story, but just a short.
well, you see in the cultivars, there are those quotation marks around them. So it will say Physocarpus obulifolius diabolo or Dart's Gold or amber, any of those kinds of names. If it's not, the name of the person who identified the plant originally,
Yeah.
and it has those quotation marks, those are cultivars. There are
So
some
you look for
cultivars.
that. If you go to a nursery, you look at the label, and if it's got a name with quotes around it, that's how you determine it's probably a cultivar.
Yes, yes, it's definitely a cultivar. If it has those, the other problem with cultivars is that they don't have the genetic variety that the native does. Now, there are some that are compact. They're smaller, and from what the people who have been researching, like Doug Tallamy, it seems that as long as the key thing is the color of the foliage as far as being a host plant. If it's generally, there may be less of a detriment if it's a compact variety or just a smaller version of it. But whatever the genes are that affect size, they could affect other things that we're not aware of. So the best thing is really to look for the native plants. And if you see them and they're not green and a fairly dark green, then they're probably a cultivar. Because some of them are a sort of yellowish green.
I don't know what I got. I'll have to watch that. Thank you.
Mhm.
How are they with deer, Kristine?
Deer will browse on them. At first, they didn't, but our deer are hungry, and my deer are your deer because they just come across the road.
Mm-hmm.
As the bigger ones, the one in the front, they don't bother that. They come by and browse my yews that are foundation plants that were here before I bought the house. They don't bother the bigger ones, but I do put fencing around them until they get to be a decent size because the deer, they'll eat pretty much anything.
Okay, good to know.
I don't think the rabbits bother them. I don't see the sharp 45-degree angle cuts on them.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. These little talks are so informative. I learn a lot in a few minutes, and I can generally retain this much at once. So I just want to thank you, Marcia and Kristine. This has been great for people like me,
Oh, well, thank you for
learners.
coming.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
agree. I feel the
Oh,
same way about them. So,
wonderful.
stop sharing.
Yes.
And I'm going to stop recording now.